Hello, and welcome back yet again. We are still wearing Dr. Daniel's garments, and we are doing yet another wonderful, wonderful 50 questions Mormons can't answer answered. I like it when I say it melodramatically, it just feels right to me. So anyway, let's get our view up here. So we did this one last time. The next one up is, yep, a little bit closer. Ooh, we can see the train gaining on us. I like this one. This is a pretty cool looking one. Yep, 1191 train. Okay, so we are on question 11. And, you know, I have to say, a lot of these questions I feel are either, misrepresenting or just not very good questions. They show a lack of understanding of religion in general and so on and so forth. A lot of them do. This one's actually a solid question, and it's, I think, one that needs to be asked, one that needs to be answered. So I'm going to give the writer credit. This is a good question. So question 11. Why did Joseph Smith condone polygamy as an ordinance from God, Doctrine and Covenants 132, when the Book of Mormon had already condemned the practice? Jacob 1:15 and 2:24. Aw, the train's overtaking us. Okay, so I want to read what's said in the Book of Mormon, the Book of Mormon that he quoted. Well, let me get into the historical context of it. So, oh, I was wondering why we stopped. Anyway, sorry. Historical context. Polygamy was introduced early on in the church's history. It was considered to be ordained of God, and it was a specific church calling, which basically meant it basically meant you had to be called to have more than one wife. You couldn't just become a member and then take on more than one wife. It was a church calling. It was an official position. So, there's a lot of little misconceptions. One thing I actually discovered pretty recently that I didn't know, but it actually makes perfect sense, was that polygamy was actually legal in the United States when we practiced it. It wasn't until about 30 years after the practice was instituted that it was made illegal, and the church had, a year prior to it becoming officially illegal, had, stopped the practice. We were always in compliance with the laws of the land. I find that significant. It's, as church member, the church encourages members to strictly obey the law of the land wherever we are, and I find it kind of comforting that we actually were in compliance with U.S. laws at the time. So anyway, back to kind of the moral and ethics of this. So let me read the two scriptures he quoted. Jacob 1:15 reads, And now it came to pass that the people of Nephi, under the reign of the second king, began to grow hard in their hearts, and indulged themselves somewhat in wicked practices, such as like unto David of old, desiring many wives and concubines, and also Solomon his son. So that's Jacob 1:15. So, yeah, the church members had started to basically indulge themselves in wicked practices. In this case, polygamy. Now, 2:24 states, let's see, here we are. Behold, David and Solomon truly had many wives and concubines, which thing was abominable before me, saith the Lord. So, let's see. So he continues on, stating that the Nephite people were led out of Jerusalem so that he might lead up a righteous branch of the house of Israel out of them. And the Lord will not suffer that they will do as the people of old did. And then in verse 27, he says, Wherefore, my brethren, hear me, and hearken to the word of the Lord. For there shall not any man among you have, save it be one wife, and concubines he shall have none. In 28, For I, the Lord God, delighteth in the chastity of women, and whoredoms are an abomination before me, thus saith the Lord. Wherefore this people shall keep my commandments, saith the Lord of hosts, or cursed be the land for their sake. So this is actually a very valid point. So based on these scriptures, on what he said, the church in no way should ever have started practicing polygamy. Even with limitations I've said, even with it being legal in land, they should not have done this. And if that was all there was listed in the Book of Mormon, I would 100% agree with this person. The Mormon Church should never have done that. However, verse 30 says this: "For if I will, saith the Lord of hosts, raise up seed unto me, I will command my people. Otherwise they shall hearken unto these things." And that's the key component right there. If God commands you to do it, it is not a sin. It is a commandment from God. So basically what this question comes down to is whether the early church leaders were actually in communication with God, were actually prophets, and God actually commanded them to do that. If they were not, and if he did not command them, it was very much a grievous sin upon their heads and upon the heads of those who indulged in it. Although I believe if someone truly believes they're doing what the Lord commands and they do something wrong or commit a sin, the sin isn't on them but on the people who convinced them to commit the sin, believing that they are doing what is right. But like I said, it would be on the church leaders, it would be on those who convinced others that they were obeying God's command when they were not. However, if they were actual prophets, actually in communication from God, and God gave the commandment to, and I'm going to quote here, "raise up seed unto me," then it was not a sin. It was commanded of God, and it was a just and right thing to do. So it basically, so this entire question, all things put aside, everything else comes down to faith. Either you have faith that Joseph Smith was a prophet, that the church is true, or you don't. That's basically what it has to boil down to. And all members have to either look at it as, well, I have faith in my beliefs, or I don't have faith in my beliefs. And that's what it boils down to it. There are times when the Lord gives us commandments that under normal circumstances would be a sin, but they are not, because the Lord commands us to do it. So, do you have faith in your church leaders? Do you have faith in God? I think anyone who has any sort of belief will have to eventually face that question. And that's what this is about. And, I will be honest, this question's asked later on, and I will answer it then, but if I were commanded of God to take on more than one wife, I do not know how I would react. It's not something I strive for or would want. It really isn't. So it's one of those things where I'd be like, do I have to? Is there any other way that we can do this without me having to take on more than one wife? And I would have to face the question, do I trust in the Lord enough to follow his commandments, or do I balk at this and not follow his commandments? And I think that's true of everyone else. Of everyone who has any faith has to face that question. And I think that's ultimately what this is about, at least from our perspective, modern day perspective, is all about. Do we trust God or don't we? And yeah, only you can answer that. So anyway, that was the question and the answer. Let me know what you think. Actually kind of like this. We're getting sort of like this gray and foggy night look for the train this time, and I think that looks really cool today. So let me know what you think about that. Like and subscribe if you like this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.